Hey, what's up everybody? Primus Prime 22 here, bringing you another episode of Transformers lore. In all of Transformers lore, few is as mysterious as the one known as Sideways. A servant to Unicron sometimes, he is known for jumping from universe to universe. While that's a similar concept to multiversal singularities, he is decidedly not a multiversal singularity, just a guy that jumps universes quite a lot. For those who have not done the research, it is very difficult to know which Sideways is which and when. Thankfully, I've done the research and put together the evidence, and here I'm going to present to you the different Sidewayses and their brief history so you'll be able to know which Sideways is which. However, it should be noted that this video will be divided into multiple parts. While there are 8 Sidewayses that we will be covering, there is one Sideways who truly has an amazing history once it's all put together. So today, we will be looking at this one major Sideways. The Sideways we will be talking about today is the Sideways of PRIMAX 984.20 Gamma, the universe of the Marvel UK comics. Now, the sources specifically say PRIMAX 994.0 Gamma, the universe of the Fleetway Generation 2 comics, but because the Fleetway comics appear to be a continuation of the UK continuity, we'll apply Prime Theory here and use the notation of the main universe. So, we'll start with PRIMAX 984.20 Gamma. Sideways and his brother Soundwave, not the Soundwave of that universe, were inhabitants of Geoxys' Cybertronian Empire, an organization of Transformers who opposed both the Autobots and the Decepticons, believing themselves to be the next superior generation of Transformers. While Geoxys was in command of the Cybertronian Empire, he truly answered to Liege Maximo, one of the 13. The Cybertronian Empire went throughout space, cyberforming planet after planet. However, in 1994 CE, the Cybertronian Empire was defeated by the Autobots and the Decepticons, and even Geoxys fell in battle. As the Cybertronian Empire began to collapse, Liege Centauro Firecrest stepped up and took command of the dying Empire. He fortified Sideways' home planet as the Empire's last bit of territory, creating a state-of-the-art world complete with cloaking technology. The planet became known as Planet X. However, the other Cybertronians knew that there was a final vestige of the Cybertronian Empire out there, and the Dinobot Swoop, now going by the name of the Veteran, was put in charge of searching the universe for Planet X, and Firecrest ultimately decided to escape the previous generation of Cybertronians by leaving the universe. Planet X jumped to a universe known only as the X Dimension. Here, the Cybertronian Empire began to conquer the universe. However, the inhabitants of the X Dimension refused to be conquered and decided to scorch their reality than to be conquered. This left Planet X alone in a dying universe with little resources and energy. The decision was made to reach out and conquer a planet from another universe. The planet they decided upon was the energy-rich planet of Gigantion of AUREX 802.23 Alpha, the universe of the American Unicron Trilogy cartoons. They dragged Gigantion into their universe and Planet X began its attack. However, what Planet X did not account for was the fact that Gigantion was a colony world established with the blessing of Primus. Primus' blessing came in the form of a cyber planet key that was brought to their world, and the inhabitants of Gigantion called upon the key's power to aid them in the war with Planet X. As a result, the inhabitants of Gigantion became massive in size, able to hold off the Planet X invasion. Planet X ultimately developed a weapon to end the war. However, the weapon malfunctioned and Planet X was destroyed in the conflict. Though Gigantion had been dragged into another universe, they were the victors, and the only survivors of Planet X were Sideways and his brother Soundwave, along with any subordinates that Soundwave had like Laserbeak. Sideways and Soundwave both loved Planet X, and the destruction of their home enraged and saddened them. However, they eventually came to make contact with Unicron, the Chaos Bringer himself. Out of their desperation and want of revenge, they made a deal with Unicron. They would serve Unicron, and in return, Unicron would eventually destroy Gigantion. So began their service to Unicron. Sideways spent some time in some Viron cluster before arriving in a universe similar to PRIMAX 984.17 Alpha, though likely not exactly that universe. In this universe, in 2005 CE, Unicron would make his move on Cybertron, though he was doomed to fail due to the actions of the Chosen One, the soon-to-be-dubbed Rodimus Prime. Sideways sought to weaken this reality to aid Unicron in the consumption of Cybertron here. He went to McAdam's Old Oil House, a bar on Cybertron that served as a nexus between universes, where he met the renegade Gong from GARGENT 186.0 Gamma, the universe of the GoBots magazine. Gong had a mischievous personality, and Sideways decided to hold a competition with him. The two would tamper with their universes and see who could make the best changes to space-time. Sideways messed around with reality on Gobatron of GARGENT 186.0 Gamma until his plan was foiled by Vector Prime, who restored reality and left Sideways at the hands of an angry Gong, who was upset that he was just being used for Sideways' plans. After the first encounter with Vector Prime, Sideways went to Fornax 813.0 Gamma, where he joined the ranks of the Decepticons there under the command of Megatron, fighting the Autobots over inconsequential objectives like transparent technology or over the Red Bucket. Even still, Vector Prime watched Sideways' actions carefully. The time eventually came for when Unicron needed Sideways' services. In AUREX 802.23 Alpha, the very universe where Gigantion originated from, Unicron was planning an attack on Cybertron. However, he was feeding off the hatred from the Autobot-Decepticon war at the time and needed an agent to help agitate the war. In 2010 CE, Sideways arrived in this universe on Earth and joined the ranks of the Autobots. However, when opportunity struck, he changed sides to the Decepticons. Sideways was eventually exposed for not being truly loyal to the Decepticons, and thus he was ousted. But the Autobots and Decepticons learned that Sideways indeed had a true master, Unicron, when Unicron launched his attack on Cybertron. Sideways helped his master in the Armada War until he was defeated by Optimus Prime himself. After the Armada War, Sideways was repaired, possibly somehow by Unicron himself. However, with Unicron defeated pretty badly, Sideways felt he was no longer enthralled by Unicron, and thus he decided to end his service with him. Sideways instead rendezvoused with Soundwave and decided to work on getting revenge on Gigantion when the Unicron Singularity Crisis began in 2030 CE. Sideways played all sides of the conflict, even those within the Decepticon ranks seeking dissent, as he served under Starscream for a time. However, Sideways and Soundwave never got their revenge, eventually ending up trapped in AUREX 906.29 Alpha. However, they were happy in this universe, as they found a still living Planet X in this universe. While they lived in peace there for a while, Sideways eventually went back to his old tricks, beginning to explore the multiverse yet again. This time, he jumped to MALGUS 1207.26 Alpha, the universe of the Transformers animated cartoon. He joined the ranks of the Decepticons during the years of the Great War, receiving the rank of Land General for his services. He often served with fellow Decepticon Shockwave, telling him of some of the other locations he wished to visit, like Shanghai. Land General Sideways was eventually in charge of the Decepticon forces in the Silvert War, a conflict within the Great War, against the Autobots under the command of Primal Major. He was captured by the end of the conflict and was imprisoned on Primal's ship, the Axelon, also known as Alpha Supreme. However, Sideways planned for this and used his transphase generator to break free from his prison and sabotage the engine of the Axelon, causing Primal Major and his crew to fall into a nearby black hole. Sideways used the black hole to slingshot himself through universes again, this time arriving in TYRAN 207.28 Gamma, the universe of the expanded movie timeline. Sideways ended up on the Decepticon ship called the Nemesis under the command of that universe's Soundwave in search for the Star Harvester, a weapon that was created by the Fallen, another one of the 13, long ago. However, time-displaced Autobot forces under Sentinel Prime on the Ark warped into the Nemesis before continuing its chaotic path through time and space. Sideways was wounded in the accident, but was then part of the crew of the Longshot in pursuit of the Ark, arriving at Earth. By 2009 CE, Sideways had befriended the Constructicon Demolisher, and the two were living in Shanghai, a city Sideways had always wanted to visit. They lived peacefully until Nest forces arrived. In the Battle of Shanghai, Sideways was bisected by the Autobot called Sideswipe. Sideways' body was brought to the Nest NBE Resource Redistribution Plant in Toronto, Canada. The Decepticon Skystalker arrived and stole his body along with Bonecrusher's body to use the parts to upgrade Starscream for his Project Unite. However, enough of Sideways was left intact for the Decepticon medic Scapel, also known as the Doctor, to fix him. While his motives were unknown, Sideways eventually left that universe as well, eventually arriving in PRIMAX 785.06 Alpha, the universe of the Japanese Generation 1 cartoon, in 2004 CE. Sideways joined the Autobots and fought in the Solitarium Wars on Earth over the powerful resource that was wanted by the Decepticons for power and wanted by the Autobots to help construct Autobot City. The Solitarium Wars were defined by the instability of the universe, with Blasty Zones opening and individuals from different points in time arriving, including the Predacon Megatron who arrived from the Beast Wars and took command of the Decepticons from Starscream. The original Megatron was still down since the Battle of the Stargate that happened a few years prior. Sideways eventually switched sides to the Decepticons during the Solitarium Wars, but was eventually defeated by the Autobots. And that, my friends, is the brief history of Sideways of PRIMAX 984.20 Gamma and his long travels through time and space. There are still 7 other main Sidewayses out there that we will cover soon, so keep an eye out for that. Subscribe if you like, check out the social media links in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.